undisturbed tranquility. If this is not yet feasible, we are content and even more than satisfied to learn how such a day can be achieved. If we give way to disturbance, let us learn how to dismiss it. Let us learn how to dismiss it and return to peace. We need but tell our minds with certainty, the stillness of the peace of God is mine. The stillness of the peace of God is mine, and nothing can intrude upon the peace that God Himself has given to His Son. The stillness of the peace of God is mine. The stillness of the peace of God is mine. Father, your peace is mine. What need have I to fear that anything can rob me of what you would have me keep? I cannot lose your gifts to me. I cannot lose your gifts to me. And so the peace you gave your Son is with me still, in quietness and my own eternal love for you. I cannot lose your gifts to me. I cannot lose your gifts to me. And so the peace you gave your Son is with me still, in quietness and my own eternal love for you. The stillness of the peace of God is mine. The stillness of the peace of God is mine. What is the Christ? Christ is God's Son as He created Him. He is the self we share, uniting us with one another and with God as well. He is the thought which still abides within the mind that is His source. He has not left His holy home, nor lost the innocence in which He was created. He abides unchanged forever in the mind of God. Christ is the link that keeps you one with God and guarantees that separation is no more than an illusion of despair, for hope forever will abide in Him. Your mind is part of His and His of yours. He is the part in which God's answer lies, where all decisions are already made and dreams are over. He remains untouched by anything the body's eyes perceive, for though in Him His Father placed the means for your salvation, yet does He remain the self who, like His Father, knows no sin, home of the Holy Spirit, and at home in God alone. Does Christ remain at peace within the heaven of your holy mind? This the only part of you that has reality and truth. The rest is dreams. Yet will these dreams be given unto Christ, to fade before His glory and reveal your holy self, the Christ, to you at last. The Holy Spirit reaches from the Christ in you to all your dreams and bids them come to Him to be translated into truth. He will exchange them for the final dream which God appointed as the end of dreams. For when forgiveness rests upon the world and peace has come to every son of God, what could there be to keep things separate? For what remains to see except Christ's face? And how long will his holy face be seen? When it is but the symbol that the time for learning now is over, and the goal of the atonement has been reached at last. So therefore let us seek to find Christ's face and look on nothing else. As we behold his glory, will we know we have no need of learning or perception or of time or anything except the holy self, the Christ whom God created as his Son. The stillness of the peace of God is mine. The stillness of the peace of God is mine. And perhaps today we are now ready for a day of undisturbed tranquility. If this is not yet feasible, we are content and even more than satisfied to learn how such a day can be achieved, how such a day can be achieved. If we give way to disturbance, let us learn how to dismiss it. Let us learn how to dismiss it and return to peace. We need but tell our minds with certainty. The stillness of the peace of God is mine. The stillness of the peace of God is mine. And nothing can intrude upon the peace that God himself has given to his Son. The stillness of the peace of God is mine. The stillness of the peace of God is mine. Father, your peace is mine. What need have I to fear? That anything can rob me of what you would have me keep. I cannot lose your gifts to me. I cannot lose your gifts to me. And so the peace you gave your Son is with me still, in quietness and my own eternal love for you. I cannot lose your gifts to me. I cannot lose your gifts to me. And so the peace you gave your Son is with me still, in quietness. You're given to your Son is with me still, in quietness and my own eternal love for you. The stillness of the peace of God is mine. The stillness of the peace of God is mine. The stillness of the peace of God is mine. The stillness of the peace of God is mine. The stillness of the peace of God is mine. Well, thank you all so much for joining me here today and studying A Course in Miracles. That was lesson 273 in A Course in Miracles. We're reading from the Foundation for Inner Peace version of A Course in Miracles here on Sunday, September 29th of 2024. And we're also going to take a look at our text reading, which is in, we're ready for in chapter 30, The New Beginning, The Rules for Decision, Section 1. And we read through paragraph 9 yesterday, but let's pick up in paragraph 6 and read through the rest of that section. Remember once again the day you want, and recognize that something has occurred that is not part of it. That's, if you get disturbed. Remember when we just sang in this song that if we give way to disturbance, let us learn how to dismiss it and return to peace. We need but tell our minds with certainty, the stillness of the peace of God is mine, and nothing can intrude upon the peace that God himself has given to his Son. So if something disturbs your peace, he's going to give you another way, a way to work through it, some little steps to take. Remember once again the day you want, and recognize that something has occurred that is not part of it. So remember yesterday we talked about how we want to start our day off by thinking about the day you want, and then throughout the day rehearse that, kind of keep it in your mind, like, what kind of day do I want? A happy day, obviously. I want a day that I'm choosing with the Holy Spirit. Today we want a day that the stillness of the peace of God is mine. Say that every hour of the day today. Try to do it at the top of the hour. Give God thanks for something during that moment. But rehearse and remember what kind of a day do you want during that hourly pause. And be sure to do a longer period in the morning and again in the evening where you consider this idea, the stillness of the peace of God is mine. And then think about what kind of a day is going to shape up with all your specific things that you plan to do for that day when you're using the Holy Spirit as your guide. So he says, then realize that you have asked a question by yourself and must have said an answer in your terms. Then say, this is if you get disturbed, I have no question, I forgot what to decide. I love that. I do that sometimes when I find myself a little bit crossways. I go, well, I forgot what to decide. This cancels out the terms that you have set and lets the answer show you what the question must have really been. Paragraph 7. Try to observe this rule without delay, despite your opposition, for you've already gotten angry, and your fear of being answered in a different way from what your version of the question asks will gain momentum until you believe the day you want is one in which you get your answer to your question. And you will not get it, for it would destroy the day by robbing you of what you really want. This can be very hard to realize when once you have decided by yourself the rules that promise you a happy day. Yet this decision still can be undone by simple methods which you can accept. Paragraph 8. If you are so unwilling to receive you cannot even let your question go, you can begin to change your mind with this and tell yourself, at least I can decide I do not like what I feel now. If you don't like the way you're feeling, that at least notice that, because you'll always be associated with that feeling of anger, that stab of anger, that upsetness. This much is obvious and paves the way for the next easy step. Paragraph 9. Having decided that you do not like the way you feel, what could be easier than to continue with, and so I hope I have been wrong. And you want to be wrong. You want to know that there wasn't any need to think the way you're thinking because you could have been happy. This works against the sense of opposition and reminds you that help is not being thrust upon you, but is something that you want and that you need because you do not like the way you feel. This tiny opening will be enough to let you go ahead with just a few more steps you need to let yourself be helped. I threw that word easy in because they really are easy steps. Paragraph 10. Now you have reached the turning point, because it has occurred to you that you will gain if what you have decided is not so. Until this point is reached, you will believe your happiness depends on being right. But this much reason have you now attained. You would be better off if you were wrong. Because if you're wrong, that means you can make a new choice, one that's better. Paragraph 11, which is step number 6 in this sequence. This tiny grain of wisdom will suffice. This tiny grain of wisdom, and so I hope I have been wrong. This tiny grain of wisdom will suffice to take you further. You are not coerced, but merely hope to get a thing you want, and you say in perfect honesty, I want another way to look at this. Wow, that's that open mind where lesson 1 began. I do not understand anything I see in this place. So here we're back on lesson 1. I want another way to look at this. Now you have changed your mind about the day and have remembered what you really want. Its purpose has no longer been obscured by the insane belief you want it for the goal of being right when you are wrong. Thus is the readiness for asking brought to your awareness, for you cannot be in conflict when you ask for what you want, and see that it is this for which you ask. Paragraph 12, which is step number 7. This final step is but acknowledgement of lack of opposition to be helped. It is a statement of an open mind, not certain yet, but willing to be shown. Perhaps there is another way to look at this. What can I lose by asking? You're already not happy, so what can you lose by asking for another way to see it? That calls on the Holy Spirit. Thus you now can ask a question that makes sense, and so the answer will make sense as well. Nor will you fight against it, for you see that it is you who will be helped by it. Paragraph 13. It must be clear that it is easier to have a happy day if you prevent unhappiness from entering at all. But this takes practice in the rules that will protect you from the ravages of fear. When this has been achieved, the sorry dream of judgment has forever been undone. But meanwhile, you have need for practicing the rules for its undoing. Let us then consider once again the very first of the decisions which are offered here. Paragraph 14. We said you can begin a happy day with the determination not to make decisions by yourself. Not to make decisions by yourself. This seems to be a real decision in itself, and yet you cannot make decisions by yourself. The only question really is with what you choose to make them. The only question really is with what you choose to make them. That is really all. The first rule, then, is not coercion, but a simple statement of a simple fact. You will not make decisions by yourself, whatever you decide, for they are made with idols or with God. And you ask help of Antichrist or Christ, and which you choose will join with you and tell you what to do. Isn't that nice? So you make decisions either with an idol, something, a make-believe, an illusion, calling on the ego, or an idol, he calls it, or the Antichrist, or you ask help from the Holy Spirit or Christ. That's the only two choices there are. One's an illusion, and the other, but you have to make, you always make a decision of who you want to help you. Your day is not at random. Let's read that last sentence again. For your decisions are made with idols or with God, and you ask help of Antichrist or Christ, and which you choose will join with you and tell you what to do. Your day is not at random. It is set by what you choose to live it with, and how the friend whose counsel you have sought perceives your happiness. And we want to ask the Holy Spirit for counsel, not the ego. You always ask advice before you can decide on anything. Let this be understood, and you can see there cannot be coercion here, nor grounds for opposition that you may be free. There is no freedom from what must occur, and if you think there is, you must be wrong. Paragraph 16. I love Jesus's just candid, just such obvious. Well, you're just wrong if you think there's. He says there is no freedom from what must occur, and if you think there is, you must be wrong. 16. The second rule as well is but a fact, for you and your advisor must agree on what you want before it can occur. It is but this agreement that permits all things to happen. Nothing can be caused without some form of union, be it with a dream of judgment or the voice for God. Decisions cause results because they are not made in isolation. They are made by you and your advisor for yourself and for the world as well. The day you want, you offer to the world, for it will be what you have asked for and will reinforce the rule of your advisor in the world. Whose kingdom is the world for you today? What kind of day will you decide to have? 17, last paragraph for the section. It needs but two who would have happiness this day to promise it to all the world. It needs but two to understand that they cannot decide alone, to guarantee the joy they asked for will be wholly shared. For they have understood the basic law that makes decision powerful and gives it all the effects that it will ever have. It needs but two. These two are joined before there can be a decision. Let this be the one reminder that you keep in mind, and you will have the day you want and give it to the world by having it yourself. Your judgment has been lifted from the world by your decision for a happy day. And as you have received, so must you give. Okay, isn't that beautiful? Okay, before we close, let's see what's going on around the world today. Broadway Musical Day, Confucius Day. Here's a nice one from Confucius. Love others as you would love yourself. Judge others as you would judge yourself. Cherish others as you would cherish yourself. Gold Star Mother's Day. Attend your grandchild's birthday day. Happy Goose Day. Also, Priesthood Sunday. Have a cooked goose with your priest. Michaelmas Day, which is, and Poisoned Blackberries Day. There's a story with Michaelmas and poisoned blackberries, but they're not generally poisons. You don't have to worry much about blackberries being poisonous. Biscotti Day, World Heart Day. Follow your heart. I think that's a good thing to do. World Rivers Day. Know where what watershed you're in. See where your waterfall, where your water, when it falls on your land, what river does it move into? Let's see, International Coffee Day, Inventors Day, Mocha Day, International Day of the Deaf. Remember our word for peace out of sign language? Peace. Let's see, Mags Day, Mutation Day, you Mutant and Ninja Turtle fans, VFW Day, and then Butterhead Lettuce. There is a Gulley's favorite out of Seed Savers Exchange. It says, Gulley's favorite, this tasty variety's dark green round leaves with a tinge of red and slightly undulating edges win us over in the garden, while its crisp texture and great flavor delight us at the table. Donated to Seed Savers Exchange in 1992 by Lucille Reeves of Oklahoma. This variety was reported by Lucille to have been grown by the Gulley family of Oklahoma since 1890. Butterhead, it's a 60-day variety. Gulley's favorite, a Latuca sativa. Okay, let's see, is there anything else? Oh, our word for peace out of the Maltese from Malta is Paci. Pacific means peaceful water. That's I think it was Magellan when he reached the Pacific. He said, these are peaceful waters. The day he got there, they were peaceful. Okay, be sure to do your 2 longer extended periods of quiet. And every hour of the day, tell yourself, the stillness of the peace of God is mine. The stillness of the peace of God is mine. Perhaps today we are now ready for a day of undisturbed tranquility. If this is not yet feasible, we are content and even more than satisfied to learn how such a day can be achieved. how such a day can be achieved. If we give way to disturbance, let us learn how to dismiss it. Let us learn how to dismiss it and return to peace. We need but tell our minds with certainty. The stillness of the peace of God is mine. The stillness of the peace of God is mine. And nothing can intrude upon the peace that God Himself has given to His Son. The stillness of the peace of God is mine. The stillness of the peace of God is mine. Father, your peace is mine. What need have I to fear? That anything can rob me of what you would have me keep. I cannot lose your gifts to me. I cannot lose your gifts to me. And so the peace you gave your Son is with me still, in quiet and my own eternal love for you. Father, your peace is mine. What need have I to fear? That anything can rob me of what you would have me keep. I cannot lose your gifts to me. I cannot lose your gifts to me. And so the peace you gave your Son is with me still, in quietness and my own eternal love for you. The stillness of the peace of God is mine. The stillness of the peace of God is mine. The stillness of the peace of God is mine. The stillness of the peace of God is mine. The stillness of the peace of God is mine. And from Malta, our word is Paci, for peace. So Paci be with you. Remember our deaf word for peace? The stillness of the peace of God is mine. Paci.